Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. Okay, so tell us about your week, Judith. You've been getting ready to move, I understand.
Yes, but I'm not going to tell you that until project updates.
All right, then. That's one of your projects, is it?
Yeah, it's my only project. So one thing about my week, big upset at the tennis. I'm enjoying Wimbledon very much this year, and a big upset when one of the people who you think is going, the number one seed, who they're expected to win, went out in week one. Yay! That's very exciting.
Is it?
And it is exciting because otherwise what happens is, I don't know if you remember this from when we were younger, but otherwise what tends to happen is the same good two play each other for the trophy year after year after year, and you think, oh God, I've seen this match. So it's shaken things up, and we don't know who it's going to be. So that's exciting. And also the other thing about this week is I'm feeling very global.
Global.
Yeah, I woke up yesterday morning to 2 emails, one from Australia, one from New Zealand, and I thought, well, that's nice. And I work with clients in America, UK, and Europe. No India, China, Japan, Russia yet, but I realised I don't really want them. Not that they're not lovely and everything, but you know, I'm a particular brand of Britishness, really, that probably goes well in Australia, New Zealand, USA, UK, and Europe. So, but it's nice to have. I love that. It's actually one of my absolutely favourite things about my business is working with people all over the world.
Yeah. Well, I've had quite a quiet week. I've been trying to get out in the sun as much as possible because that's a good thing. And it's trying to sort out the garden because obviously the slugs ate everything, and now we replanted and put slug pellets down. So fingers crossed. Had dinner with my son and my ex. That was an interesting evening. They're men of few words, those two. I'm keeping a conversation going. It's quite hard work. You realise you miss Phoebe, you know, because she just, you can chat amongst yourselves, us girls, can't we? But the boys just sort of sit there, and once they've asked their 3 questions about what you've been up to, that's it.
Did you entertain them to gusto at home, or did you all go out?
No. You can't. That's the problem with gusto, isn't it? If you're having any guests, you have to beef it up a bit, and there's not enough seasonings. Well, there would be in our house because we've got everything in the cupboard. But no, it was a bit of confusion. Nelson invited me round, and then Irving does spinning class on Tuesdays, so he wasn't willing to cook. So basically, it ended up that I could go round there and cook my own dinner.
That's not the most attractive offer ever, is it?
No, it isn't. So we all ended up going to the pub for a burger, and it was very pleasant, as I say. But they are both quite taciturn, I think is the word, and so we missed Phoebe not being there because she keeps the conversation going with chit chat. But she's having a good time. She's into her 3rd week now in Bali. I think she's getting a teensy bit bored of lying on the beach, although she has been to a monkey temple once. And they're zigzagging between hostels. There's a luxury hostel called the M Hostel out there, it really does look like a hotel. It's lovely. But they're off to a little island called Gili to meet Katura, who's one of their friends who grew up here and then went off to India to work in a bar in Goa, and then went on to Australia and has been working around Australia and is on her way back now. So they're meeting up in this island called Gili, which is supposed to be absolutely stunning. And I'm looking forward to seeing her for one day, and then she's off to Ibiza, and then she says we had a little conversation today. She said that she's definitely going to save up and go off travelling again. So in some ways, it's sort of opening my doors a bit, because she's really the one that I would hang on for, because she's quite a young teen. She's 21. Yeah, she must be 21. She's quite young still, but if she's going to go off travelling, then it sort of means that I don't have to be here so much, which is nice. Mm-hmm. I can get my travelling in, which would be good. But also the other big news, obviously, I've had my hair done. It took 6 weeks, so I was pretty grey by the time it was done. I've said to my friend Kim, we cannot leave it that long again. But the other news is we're into season 3 of Game of Thrones. We're binge watching Game of Thrones, 3 or 4 episodes a night, and thoroughly enjoying it. So what with work and all these other things, I'm keeping quite busy. So what's fueled your fire this week?
Well, two clients charging what they're really worth has reminded me about something that I teach my clients all of the time, and we discuss it here quite a lot, which is I'm absolutely convinced that sales are easier at the top end. So the more you charge, the easier it is to get people to pay you, ironically. And also I think your business becomes easier too, because as you attract clients and customers who can easily afford you, they're often not so difficult, and they understand your worth and your value. So a lot of clients, one lady immediately and one lady quite soon, both implemented my advice and were surprised to discover how easy and fast it was to get sales at the new prices.
Well, that's really nice, isn't it? And very gratifying too. Yeah. So, it's lovely when people take your advice and it works.
Well, yes, and actually I think one of the ladies did it in the spirit of, might as well, and asked her 3 times what she normally charges and was surprised that the person paid it.
That's brilliant, isn't it? You've got to come from a place of abundance there, though, haven't you? Because if you've got fear that you won't get the gig, if you do that, then you give off the wrong vibes, don't you?
Yeah, I certainly remember the first time it ever happened when I was running my accountancy business, quite early on in the 80s, and I thought we were full up, and somebody rang and said, how much? And I think I've doubled my prices, and they still wanted in, and then the scales fell from my eyes, and I thought, it isn't about the price; it's about the value and the need of the person.
Yeah,
and also I think it's about you're appreciating your own expertise, which is sometimes easy to lose touch with, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, very much so. Especially if you haven't sold anything for a while, you sort of,
right.
Look at when everything went tits up for me back in 2010. I couldn't give it away. I was going to my local chamber, and because I didn't feel confident, and
exactly.
I just exactly give it away.
That's exactly it. It's your scarcity and your vibe that people buy.
Yeah.
Or don't.
Right.
Yeah.
And as soon as I started working with Neil and we set up an agency, suddenly I was all in demand again.
Exactly. Yes. So tell me what's fueled your own fire.
Well, interestingly, that sales letter format sheet is still fueling my fire. I'm going through my sites and I'm on a constant streamlining exercise. But what that sales letter format sheet has done has given me a framework to be able to write every single page. So I was feeling quite overwhelmed at the idea of writing any sales copy whatsoever. And I am just using it to go through and create mini sales pages, and even just writing emails. I'm following that format because it just gives you I think, did we put a link to it on last week's episode? So yes, that people could download it, yeah. So I can't remember what episode this is, 87, isn't it? So if you go and look in episode 86, lovely listener, you will find the sales letter format sheet. And it's just an easy way of not forgetting the essentials that people need to have answered before they can buy something from you. And even when you're writing an opt-in page, that's a way of getting a sale, because people are going to have to give you their name and email to opt in for something, and they really want to be reassured that it's going to be worth it. I came across a very strange opt-in page today. Someone put something in a group, and I thought, that sounds interesting. I'll opt in for that. And I went to the page, filled in my name and email, and it jumped me to a page where I had to fill in a great long application to speak to them. In fact, I was almost committing to work with them by filling this page in. And they said, your blueprint will be on the next page after this. I thought, well, you've lost a chance to get my name and email there, because I'm not having it. I don't want to work with you. I'm not filling this in, and I don't want your blueprint that much. But so yes, that's what's fueled my fire. I've been going through everything and writing it, and it's given me a framework that enables me to get excited about writing about things again, which is nice.
Well, certainly I haven't finished, as you know, but I really thoroughly enjoyed last Wednesday afternoon when I'd forgotten how gripping it is to write a sales letter when you're in flow.
Yeah, very much so, yes. And when you're excited about the product as well, it makes life a lot easier.
Yeah, so I'm going to try and finish my bit off this afternoon.
Yeah, marvellous. And we'll talk about that in project updates. A word from our sponsors. This podcast is sponsored by clicksandleads.com. Clicksandleads.com believe in affordable traffic and leads for everyone. They'll set up your Facebook ad campaign, page likes, leads or remarketing, then they'll manage it for you. They'll even split test your ads and audiences to find the best performing ones. Game-changing marketing from clicksandleads.com. So what's our client challenge of the week then?
Well, I'm reverting to Thomas Leonard's 28, what are they called? 28 Surefire strategies for business and personal success. We've done number 1 and number 2. So rather strangely for me, we're going to number 8 today.
Okay.
And that's become irresistibly attractive to yourself. Now, I'll just read you the preamble, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullet points for us to work through. So the preamble is, do things that make you feel good and proud of yourself. I'm going to say that again. Do things that make you feel good. That sounds easy. And proud of yourself. Do things that make you feel proud of yourself. I don't know how many opportunities we get for that, but it's a nice thing to be thinking about. Ask yourself, what am I doing in my life that's unattractive to me? And are those things benefiting me in a way I could eliminate? Is there anything that used to be okay but is bad for me now? Stop trying to meet other people's expectations. Start meeting your own. Be yourself. So, just reiterate the title of this one, Become Irresistibly Attractive to Yourself. So here's the first bullet point. We might have a think about who we could do this for. Do something good for someone who doesn't deserve it.
Oh, not someone who isn't expecting it, someone who doesn't deserve it.
Yeah, and that, you see the judgment in that. He was very big on judgment, Thomas Leonard, because actually that's not true. It's not a fact. It's something we've made up our minds about. Do something good for someone who doesn't deserve it.
Who you might think doesn't deserve it.
Yes, exactly. Who you've made up your mind is a baddie, or who's pissed you off this week. Somebody who's just pissed you off, isn't it? Do something good for them. I can see the healing potential of that.
Yeah. So are there more bullet points to come, or are we discussing?
There are loads of them. Do you want to think about that one, or do you want me to move on to the next one?
Yeah, let's have an overview of the bullet points.
Overview. Okay, all right. Give something away where you would normally charge.
Oh, that's nice. I always like to do that.
That is nice. However, I don't want our listeners who are not very good at charging to keep giving stuff away. So we'll come back to that one. Admit something important that you haven't but need to.
Okay. Admit to whom? To oneself?
I think to oneself, yes. It gets a bit to oneselfish, this one.
Yeah.
End a habit or practice that you don't feel good about. What? So something that you're doing that you know isn't right, stop it.
Yeah.
And the last one is identify the one quality you don't currently have that you really want to have and take 30 days to develop it.
Oh, no, this is a really good one, isn't it?
I know, it's meaty, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the thing that comes up about feeling proud of yourself is like getting up and blow drying your hair even though you're not going anywhere and aren't going to see anyone. I always feel like such a slut if I don't dry my hair because if I have to go out, I then feel terrible about the way I look. So that's the first thing that popped into my head because obviously since March I've been getting a bit slack about that. I've just been putting a couple of rollers in my top fringe and then just letting the rest of it dry how it likes, and it always looks. Well, I always think it looks a mess if I then have to go out. But I've just managed to pull myself back and started blow drying my hair every morning again, mainly because I want to get on social media and I don't feel good about getting on social media unless my hair's dry.
Okay.
So that's an interesting one. What's it bring up for you? It brings up
Actually, it's never about my appearance. Funnily enough, there's a debate that goes on in various of my groups on Facebook a lot, which is that when you're newly self-employed, you often need to get up and as an expression they will use, which I really don't like, is suited and booted. They need to get up and dress up in the way they used to when they went to work in order to feel workish. Now, I'm so far into this, I don't need to either blow dry my hair or put on clothes or anything. I can, in fact, the more comfortable and relaxed I am physically, the better work I do. But what makes me feel proud of myself? Well, today is likely to be a day. I'll tell you why. Because I've already done my 90-minute call at 8 o'clock in the morning. Then we go straight onto the podcast. Then I do the show notes. I feel like I've achieving a lot makes me feel proud of myself. And usually after that role, and then I'll go on to do the remainder of the sales letter and my French practice. By about 4 o'clock this afternoon, I'm going to feel really good because I've done a lot of useful stuff. And yesterday, I vaguely had the day off, but as you'll hear in the project updates, I did so many things about moving. Achievement is what makes me feel proud.
Yeah, I had a frustrating half an hour yesterday when I was literally stomping up and down the house because I couldn't make. I was learning to use a bit of software that I'll tell you about later, but I couldn't make it do two things that I wanted to. So I stomped up and down and hung up some washing and sat in the sun for 10 minutes, and came back and was able to then puzzle it out. And it wasn't even as simple as, submitting a support ticket, because that would have taken days to get a response. And also, I'd started to write a support ticket, and then I hit the wrong button, and my computer was playing up. Chrome's doing some strange things, by the way, people. If you're getting big black squares on your Chrome, it's not your computer. Don't panic. It's Chrome. So I went and downloaded Chrome Canary, and that sorted out the big black squares. But in the meantime, they'd made me hit the wrong button, so I'd lost my support ticket, which I was even more frustrated and cross about. And but then when I calmed down and went off and had a stiff talking to from Sarah, and then I came back and I managed to get the software to do the two things that I needed it to do just by looking at everything calmly again. So I felt quite proud of myself there, that I'd actually learned how to use a brand new bit of software and got over the frustration of the adult learning issue, because whenever adults try and learn things, they get very frustrated very quickly. So yeah,
I think this issue of pride is quite a good one, because pride is a difficult concept, actually. Let's use proud is better. So, do more things more often that make you feel proud of yourself is what he's saying here, because then you become irresistibly attractive to yourself. You feel good about yourself.
You give off positive vibes, yeah.
Yeah. What am I doing in my life that's unattractive to me? What am I doing in my life that's unattractive to me? And are those things benefiting me in a way I could eliminate? So what do we do that we don't like about ourselves, and what's the payoff?
Well, where do I start?
Well,
yeah. So I'm not going to air my dirty laundry on this podcast, but
no, I'm not going to air my dirty laundry either on this one. But it's quite a thought-provoking one.
A funny example comes to mind, which is that I always used to say it to the kids, so if one of them was picking their nose, I used to say something along the lines of, no, come on, princesses wouldn't do that, would they? And it's about, I suppose, it's about acting as you would act if someone was watching you, but doing it all the time.
Yeah, my father, who was quite an old-fashioned stick, and I still own the gadget I'm about to tell you about, and have sent it to my brothers for storage while I'm away. My father used to say the definition of a gentleman is he who uses the butter knife when dining alone. And I have my father's butter knife, and I've put it in my brother's roof for storage while I'm away, because it makes me think of him and that. And he had standards that he would hold himself to whether or not anybody else was watching.
Yeah, so like not eating straight out of the saucepan.
Oh dear, that is low.
I'm not saying I do it, but I'm saying that I would always put the food onto a plate before eating it.
I do think there are a lot of. I've been known to eat baked beans out of a tin with a spoon. I see where you're going with that. I do think there are a lot of mums who sometimes eat standing up in the kitchen, because you're quite busy and stretched, and it's quite difficult to get food into your children, and so you come second.
Yeah. This is the kind of thing we're talking about, isn't it? That makes you feel less of a worthy human being.
Less worthy, I agree. But it's expedient, I think, if you've got, say, 2 or 3 toddlers running bananas and you're just trying to work food into them. I can see why women do it. But I think it becomes a habit. I went on holiday with a friend, and her mother came too, and her mother would stand up in the kitchen and eat when the rest of us were sitting, at the dining room table.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? So habits, expediency becomes habits, which make you feel less good about yourself. And that's what this client challenge is all about. It's about doing things that improve your self-worth.
Well, and then he says, is there anything that used to be okay but's bad for me now? So that's the example, isn't it, of the lady I went on holiday with, who was more comfortable eating standing up in the kitchen than in the living room with all of us, because that used to be okay when she was a mum. But she was travelling with her 30-something, 40-something-year-old daughter by then. So the habit sticks.
Yeah.
And it becomes bad for me now.
And I think it's a question of examining what you do and thinking, okay, it's not about other people's approval, this at all, is it? It's about
it's not
about not doing. I mean, because if she doesn't give a toss that she's standing in the kitchen eating, that's fair enough. But if it makes her feel in some way less worthy, and it's only by feeling worthy that you can charge come back in a full circle to the conversation with your clients. Unless you feel worthy or worth it, then you can't charge what you're worth, can you?
Yes, that could be right. Yeah, I think that self-esteem wasn't this lady's strong suit. She was an older generation than me, and I think that sometimes it was difficult for women if their husbands had been the breadwinner. They were used to coming second quite often in their choices and stuff that they wanted. But in fact, it's the me generation here a bit, which does also go too far, in my opinion. But he goes on to say, stop trying to meet other people's expectations. So maybe our expectations was that she would come and have dinner with us, not necessarily her own. So be yourself, be your own person. You know, if it's right for you, it's right. But he's saying, is there, you know, what am I doing in my life that's unattractive to me? How is that benefiting me in a way I could eliminate? Is there anything that used to be okay, but it's bad for me now? I think it's about reviewing our differing needs as we go through life.
Regularly reviewing them. Yeah,
deliberately.
Well, Sarah's reading Miracle Morning at the moment, which is it looks like a really nice book, actually. Hal Elrod. And
yes,
she's very much somebody who likes to go to bed earlier and wake up earlier, but she, you know, so she naturally wakes up early. And I think she's been, rather than, you know, doing what she used to do, which was read books and wait till everyone else woke up, she's actually started doing a little hour. It's an hour routine made up of 10 minutes activities. Yeah. And I one of the things I've been doing and I don't like myself for is I've started spending, you know, and it's funny actually because I was trying to emulate you know, when everyone says be kind to yourself and look after yourself and your energy levels will be low and all that business. I've been spending a bit more time in bed, working generally just on my laptop, but in bed because it's more comfortable and it's a nice, to be honest, in the afternoons it's a nicer room because the sun shines in, whereas in my dining room it's get a bit dark and cold. So I've been sort of doing that, but it actually makes me feel worse about myself than if I got up, got showered and sat at my desk. So that's something I'm going to be changing, even though I've experimented with it. And also, you know, having brought up kids, you don't get many lie-ins. So it's quite nice when your kids aren't around anymore to have a few what you call lie-ins. But then actually when it becomes just not getting up all day, it starts to make me feel bad about myself.
Yes, I think there's definitely a difference between a lie-in and lying in and staying in bed all day.
Yeah, because you know the only time I've ever done that's when I've been sick. So it's making me feel it's less empowering for me to do that than, you know, it's so even when people say, you know, be gentle, just say take care of yourself, blah blah blah. It's not actually doing those things, staying in bed all day for me. So I'm going to stop doing it.
I don't think there was any suggestion that you should stay in bed all day. I think the suggestion was that you should go to bed a bit earlier and sleep slightly longer because it's restorative.
Yeah.
But lying in bed all day is what teenagers do. It's not quite the same thing.
Right. I used to read when I was lying in bed all day, and now I'm working on the laptop. But it's, you know, so it's. I think yes. I mean, this is what it's about, isn't it? It's about regularly reviewing your habits. And thinking to yourself, am I doing that to support me or am I doing it for what other people think? And is it making me feel better about myself or is it making me feel not so good about myself?
I think nobody could blame you for, you know, spending a few afternoons in bed for in what you've been through in the last few months and also coming to the space where you go, well, that's not helping, so I'm not going to do it anymore. I think that's good.
Yeah, I mean, because it's sheer unwillingness to get up and face the world rather than lying in bed, you know, booing, getting it out of my system. It's not that. I'm just it's about locking yourself away, isn't it?
Yes, I think it's a disinclination towards life for a period of time.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm going to stop doing it now because I've decided I don't like it. I don't like the way it makes me feel, so I won't be doing it anymore. So that's
very good. Very good. Okay, so now tell me if you can think of somebody who you don't have to be specific. Can you think of somebody who doesn't? Can you think of somebody who doesn't deserve something and something good that you would be prepared to do for them?
No, because I've worked very hard on not being judgmental like that.
Yeah.
I don't. That we'd have to reframe that one for me too.
Well, then let's just cut the second half off. Do something good for someone.
Yeah. Well, that's always nice, isn't it? Yeah. I think
the specific challenge he was offering here was to heal by giving, or forgiveness is another way of doing that. I remember he was very, very particular about us not being judgmental of other people. I think, somebody who doesn't deserve it could be somebody that pushes your buttons and is annoying, and they're teaching you something about you. They're teaching us something about ourselves.
Yeah. Well, there's a few opportunities for that in one's working day, isn't there?
Yes, indeed.
Things.
Yeah, I'm sure a few will come up.
Yeah.
So give something away where you would normally charge. Both of us quite like doing that, so I don't think that's terribly challenging. Let's think about it a bit, because I don't really want my clients who are a bit inclined not to charge or not to charge enough to take this as a carte blanche that they can start giving things away.
I think the thing is, I'm guilty of giving too much away. So, for example, when I gave away, when I launched the Money Gym, I gave away 5 places for a year, and thought, at least I'll have 5 people in the room. But really, what I should have done was rein that back a bit and perhaps given away 3 places. Do you know what I mean? I'm inclined to go overboard with my generosity, whereas I think just to rein it back a bit would be a good thing. So here's an example. I mean, well, I was going to tell you about it later on anyway. I'm restarting my community because I've realised I miss having a community. And so now I've got to go and find the people who've bought my Facebook ads course, because I'm bringing that into the community. And I want those people who have bought the course to be able to access the community. So my immediate reaction was to give them a year's worth of the community. But then I think perhaps that's a little bit over generous. Perhaps I should make it 3 months.
I was going to say 3 months is plenty, yeah. I think.
So I think that's for me, that's about still giving, but just being a little bit more cautious, because perhaps I'm doing myself a disservice.
Yeah. Admit something important that you haven't, but need to. Admit something important.
It sounds like you have to admit it to someone else, that one, because if you were admitting it to yourself, you'd already know it.
Well, you know it, but that's not the same as embracing it, is it?
Say some more about that.
Admit something important that you haven't but need to. Admit something important that you haven't but need to. I can't think of an example that comes to mind. I think it's because I'm so self-contained that I don't feel the need to admit it to somebody else or announce it on Facebook. Whatever it is, if I need to admit it, it's probably something I'm a little bit ashamed of. And it would probably be enough for me to devil about, find it, admit it. I think it's the first stage of change, isn't it?
Yeah, because being self-aware, and also, there might be something knocking about in the back of your consciousness that you are dimly aware is not perhaps as good for you as it could be, but that you haven't been ready to admit it to yourself, because admitting it to yourself means you have to take some action, don't you?
Well, certainly it brings it up a level or 6 of awareness, I think, doesn't it?
To the point where it can almost not be ignored any longer.
Well, possibly. There's a risk it can't be ignored, yes. and the next one seems very similar to me. End a habit or practice that you don't feel good about. Now, I can think of this in example as a lot of my clients. A lot of my clients are nice girls who say yes where they wish they could say no.
Oh, okay.
So there's a good one. End a habit or practice, saying yes to everyone and everything, because it doesn't make them feel good about themselves. They then feel stressed, harried, resentful, busy, grumpy, deeply. I mean, in one group I'm working with, nobody wants to be friends with everybody, the clients. I'm friends with everybody on Facebook because I want to watch what's going on, I want to understand what they're up to, and I want to have a relationship with them all. But they don't want to, because they're frightened if these people start PMing them, they won't be able to say no. Because I realise I've got the power to say no, I can be friends with everybody. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I have a little bit of a similar fear, I must say. So I tend to reject requests unless they are people.
Well, I certainly reject requests from weirdos, but I initiate requests with everybody that I'm working with in the broadest possible sense.
Yeah. It is astonishing, though, isn't it, how people friend you up so that they can then try and pick your brains out of office hours. I do find that astonishing.
Well, I think it's the exception to the rule, but we find it quite difficult. We feel assaulted by that.
Yeah. And I also
I don't know that they deliberately friend you up so they can pick your brains out of office hours. I think that they deliberately friend you up. I think they deliberately friend you up so they can pick your brains. But the fact that it comes out of office hours adds insult to injury, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I find it very difficult to ignore messages, which is why I tend not to accept friend requests from people who I'm not actually friends with, because I do find it very difficult to ignore a request or a comment, a private.
Well, no, you see, actions speak louder than words, and the only way to reach people who pester you in any format, whether it's Skype messages, emails, telephone calls, heaven forfend, or private messages, is simply not to reply to them, because that gets the message across faster than anything.
Yeah, but that feels rude to me.
Oh, rude to somebody who's picking your brains out of office hours, having befriended you.
Okay, it's a finisher. It's an OCD thing. I'm very aware of this, because if someone emails me, I feel fine because I can reply when it suits me. If someone PMs me on Facebook at 10 o'clock at night, I don't feel I can ignore that because it's not done. It's not finished. It's not completed. I feel I have to reply. And sometimes my replies can be a little more terse than I'd like.
With respect, there's absolutely no difference to an incoming email you haven't replied to yet and a private message you haven't replied to yet. And my clients often message me 24/7, and sometimes I reply if I want to, and other times I make them wait until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And I don't think they have any expectation often that I will reply at 10 or 11 or 12 o'clock. In fact, some of them beg me, don't reply tonight.
Right, so this is they're getting the monkey off their back and putting it on yours.
Yeah, which is what we used to do with email.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind people doing it. In
fact, I still do it with email. I don't care whether anybody ever replies to me as long as I've sent the email out.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm exaggerating for effect there, but I sometimes, when people email me back 2 or 3 days later, I've forgotten what I wanted.
So this is something I could work on then, isn't it? I could work on being friends with more people and not. Yeah, but then
you don't need to be more friends. Before you could be friends with more people, what I would do is be comfortable with not replying to private messages until you're good and ready, or ever.
Yeah, okay, so that's something. Yeah, but the other thing about friending everyone is you see all their stuff in your timeline, and sometimes you see stuff that really winds you up. So
well, then you unfollow them, then you don't see their stuff, and you remain friends. I've done a lot of that in the last 10 days.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, okay, all right.
Unfollow them, yeah. Now, the last one here is perhaps the meatiest one. Identify the one quality you don't currently have that you really want to have, then take 30 days to develop it. I'm thinking of friends, one particular friend who couldn't ever do anything on time. And if he were offered this choice now, he wouldn't be picking, oh, I'd really like to be punctual. Let me practice that for the next 30 days. He was perfectly comfortable not being punctual. One quality you don't currently have that you really want to have, then 30 days to develop that quality. I'm not sure I've got anything I really want to be that I'm not.
I really want to care about being fit or getting fit, but I don't seem to be able to. So perhaps I could just practice that for the next.
Well, you had a system, but it relied on Phoebe, and she's away.
Yeah, and it's gone right out the window since she's been away, I must say. So yes, I think I need to practice that.
Well, you talked in one of the summit interviews about a switch where you'd made your mind up that it was fun, not a drudgery, or something like that. You've got to turn that switch on.
Myself though.
Ah, well, yes.
So that's another thing one should stop doing is stop.
Well, hang on a minute. This is a quality. This is not about. This is a quality. This is a personal quality. So you could say, "Stop lying to myself."
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know when I'm doing it because I'm so good at it.
Well, you might discover. You might discover if you have the torch of awareness on this, you might discover.
Okay.
Or there might just be one question that you could ask yourself, like when you say things like, "I'm really going to commit to the gym for the next 30 days." Are you really? Marion's unbreakable promise to yourself, or are you just lying to yourself? In which case, don't bother. I think.
Yeah.
And then wait until you feel inspired to go to the gym and go then.
Yeah. So what quality could I? Oh yeah, you're right. It's the thing about becoming a quality is a thing someone has innately.
Yes, exactly. Become irresistibly attractive to yourself. The one quality you don't have that you wish you do had. What it might be worth doing is just having a look at being very aware of other people's qualities and thinking,
do I admire that? Would I like that?
Or would that? It's a funny thing. It's a funny thing, actually. I can't think of a single thing where I go, oh, I wish I was more like that.
Well, that's very good. You've come to a very nice place of...
Well, I think I am quite content with who I am, yes. But I will, now that we've discussed this, I will keep my eye on these things for the next week.
Yeah.
I think awareness is where we're coming from, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's the secret to everything, isn't it? Being aware. Yeah,
it is. It's where it all starts, yes. And anyway, if anybody's listening and they can think of a quality they don't have, they really want to have, the recommendation here is you take 30 days to develop that quality.
Yes, and do feel free to come along and comment on episode 87 of ownitthepodcast.com, because we'd love to hear how...
Well, there might be a whole rash of people saying, I want to be X, and we go, oh, yes, I want to be that too.
Or even come and join the private group on Facebook, the Own It group on Facebook, because conversation seems to be much easier in there than it does on comments on the podcast. Perhaps
they're not easy on pages. Yeah, they're not easy on pages at all. They're much easier on in groups, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Okay, cool. So come and join us and tell us what qualities you wish you could cultivate, and are you going to practice them for the next 30 days? That's a good one, Judith. Well done. So what's your word of the week then?
Yeah, I'm going for surprise. So the thing about Djokovic being knocked out of Wimbledon in week 1 when he was #1 seed and intended to win, it reminded me that none of us ever know what is going to happen. Ever. Everything is a surprise. This whole hypnotism that we've done to ourselves where we think we know what we're doing, we think we know what we're going, it's rubbish. Nothing is certain.
Yeah, humans like to feel a degree of control, don't they?
Yeah,
otherwise we're making it very comfortable at all.
We're making it up. Everything's a surprise. Now, some things are a nasty shock, but the majority of things are a surprise. Be prepared for surprise, and there's a sort of curiosity about life. And in fact, I've got a little homily for you, which I found on Facebook. When you can't control what's happening, challenge yourself to control the way you respond to what's happening. That's where your power is. And somebody commenting on that said she would change the word power to peace. When you can't control what's happening, challenge yourself to control the way you respond to what's happening. That's where your peace is. It's peaceful to decide how you respond to everything that's happening. And we control nothing, as I remind ourselves quite often, and therefore life is a delightful surprise in the main.
That's very nice. I like that a lot. Very nice. Mine's launch, because we've got to launch our sales pages for the summit recordings.
Yeah.
And as I said, I am starting to build my community again. I've had a variety of membership sites over the years, and I do like interacting in them. But I got a bit challenged a couple of years ago when I built a great big, Zen. I went for the top of the range Rolls Royce version, and then there wasn't enough people in there to justify it. And I didn't have the energy, time, whatever, to build the community. So what I've done this time is I've just gone for the leanest, meanest, simplest version of how I can have a community again. So I shall be setting up an evergreen launch system for that. In fact, I've got everything. I've got all the moving parts. I just need to put them together.
And what are you going to use for the project? The software or plugin or?
Yes, Sarah. Well, I wouldn't tell you about that at the end, so I'm not going to tell you right now. So
okay, all right, okay, cool.
So that's us. Project updates then.
Yeah, so mine's all about my house move. So yesterday, the valuation took place for the bridging finance that the girl who's buying my flat is going to use. And last night she had a conditional offer of finance. And in anticipation of her getting that, I spent the day yesterday doing things as if it was going to happen, which is what I've been doing throughout this project. So since I spoke to you last, my nephew came round, and on the 15th he's coming to take the majority of my furniture away. He will leave me with a sofa bed, a folding table and a folding chair. So it's going to get quite camping-like.
It's going to get very minimal round.
No, it's going to get quite camping-like. So yesterday I phoned the AA and organised an annual multi-trip insurance to take the car to and from the continent as often as I wanted. And I had to get a thing that we used to call a green card, which is when you drive your car to the continent. I've booked an oven and fridge cleaner for next week. I've booked the security shredding man to get rid of all of the files on Monday. I phoned Vodafone and managed to reduced the cost of my mini SIM in my iPad from £15 a month to £5, because every time you use that when you're away, it's an extra £3 a day. I phoned the bank to make sure that they've implemented the change of address, which they've had. All the things I've bought for my trip have arrived. I've been for the Nissan vehicle recall in regard to my airbag. I did that in glorious downtown Penge on Monday morning. And I'm continuing to experience some mild surprise and regret that I didn't clear most of this stuff soon. I stand in my kitchen, which is almost empty, and I think, ooh, it's really nice in here. And you know I'm a minimalist. I just think even I have been living with too much stuff. And last but not least in this category, my fluency in French on my Duolingo app is up to 44%.
Wow, that's amazing.
I know. It is. So Project House Move, that's it. I'm still thinking of going on the 19th, and the girl who is going to be who or what's impressed as well in a minute thinks we'll be able to exchange contracts by Monday. So this episode will go out on the 15th. So by the 19th, I could be in France.
Wow, that's very exciting, especially as the weather's improving again now.
Well, and the bizarre thing is there's actually no evidence to support any of this. I mean, the exchange of contracts is the point at which one should have gone into all of this action, but I've done it in anticipation.
Well, yeah.
Which is a huge leap of faith, Nicola.
Yeah, and also it's improving your life as you go, as you're discovering.
Well, it is actually, yes. The man that wanted to buy off this chair has disappeared off the planet, which is a bit annoying. But anyway, tell me about your project updates.
Well, I've written my sales page for the summit recordings, and I'm ready to set up the split testing elements, which will be done through Google goals and experiments. So what you do is you set up a goal, which is the thank you page, and then you set up an experiment where you fire 50% of the traffic at a second page, and it runs the experiment, and you see. So what we're doing is Judith's written, we followed a roughly similar format, which is the sales letter format. And then Judith's written a more wordy, flowy kind of sales letter, but with minimal information about the guests. Whereas I've written a more minimal, sparse sales letter with lots of information about the guests. And then we're going to put the pages up, and then we need to talk about traffic at some point, because there's not much happening on this.
I don't think either of them look as good, or I don't think mine looks as good in the proper format as it did in the format where I created it. Not that that matters. But
what do you mean with subheadings and things?
No, whoever's done, didn't one of your team take what we wrote and turned it into the...
No, all I did was go in and put some subheads in, so I can take them out again if you like.
No, it's not that. I typed content on a page, and now it looks completely different. Don't take anything out.
I tell you what I did. I've just put it on a landing page so that we don't have a header and footer, but it has made it narrower. So I need to get someone on my team to make the page wider.
I don't think it's a problem, Nicola. I'm just saying that it doesn't look as good to me as it did, and I'm honestly not worried about that. And so it freaked me slightly when I went in there and I went, oh, this isn't what I created. I thought that you were going to get somebody to make them look more like sales pages, and I thought that's what it was. But I think actually it's the limitations of the template, isn't it? I forget what you call those.
Yeah, it is because I've had to. Yeah, well, it's about using a landing page that doesn't have a header and a footer navigation. Yeah. But it is too narrow. I'll totally agree with you. And so I need to make it wider so it looks more like you put it. The only other thing I've done is put in buy buttons, which aren't linking to anything yet, and subheads. So I can widen the page.
No. Well, when I'm working on it this afternoon, I'll let you know.
Okay.
So keep going. So keep going on what you were saying.
Well, I don't want you to feel that the page doesn't reflect how you want it to look. So, because that's.
Well, I'm going to fiddle with that this afternoon. Put some pictures in and things.
Do you want me to take you back to a normal looking page for you to do that then?
No. Leave it as it is. Honestly, all I'm saying is I was a bit shocked when I went in to have a look at it that it didn't look like what I remember creating. But it's fine. Don't worry. Honestly.
It's the narrowness of it. I think it's making it look wrong. So that's something's going to happen. No, there's no. I mean, apart from thinking about this community thing and getting the membership site software going again, I haven't really done much. I've been very, very lazy this week.
Okay. I noticed that you disappeared actually, and I thought, well, you were probably doing some healing work of your own. Actually,
yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah, I have. I haven't been doing much at all. But yeah. So who or what's impressed?
Well, the girl that's buying my flat, I'll tell you why. She managed to negotiate the bridging company down from 1% a month to 0.85, which is quite. When I told her, another property professional of mine, she said, oh, wow. But she's a little tiger who's not afraid of anyone or anything. And she just deals with everything head on. She expects things to go well. She's a can-do type of a person, and I'm finding her energy is quite. I'm glad she's driving it. So I'm just sitting here thinking, well, if she can make it work, great. And if she can't, great. Yeah. But I just think she's about half my age, Nicola. She's a single mum in her 30s. Wow. I would say she works in a solicitor's office. She came round on Tuesday after she'd been to work in the solicitor's office. She had a fantastic frock on. She had a little boy with her. So she manages a little boy, a day job, a mum, a nan, a bridging finance on a new flat, and just about to go to 3 weeks holiday in Jamaica. She's busy. She's like that mum we were talking about earlier on, that probably standing up in the kitchen. But what I'm liking is, if I said to the bridging company, how much is it? And they go 1%, I probably wouldn't think, oh, would you take 0.85? She did, and she asked for it, and she gets it. You know what I mean? She's that kind of person. She's got a solicitor who's used to acting within 3 days. Good news, because guess what? She wants to exchange contracts within 3 days. She asks for what she wants, and she doesn't take no for an answer.
Yeah, impressive.
Yeah,
very impressive. Do you think that's that's because she's never come up against any opposition or been knocked back in?
No, I think she's come up against a lot of opposition, not least from the freeholder that I've had the difficulty with. But she wants to take that battle on, and I want to limp off the field and have a peaceful life. And I think that if I was her age, I might be. It's not about energy. It's about she's got fire for the fight, and I prefer calm.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, she sounds like an amazing person. I like the bit about the nice frock as well.
Yes, she had a really nice frock on, actually. Very impressive. Anyway, tell me who or what's impressed you.
Well, just Sarah found this membership site software called MemberMouse, and I'm quite resistant to using software that I've never heard of. But I wanted something that I could have bought Optimised Press. But Optimised Press is quite a bit of work to set up. I know how to do it, but I know how much work it is as well. But this MemberMouse it's a recurring billing, but you can go in at $19 a month, so it really is nothing to speak of whatsoever. And I really did do it in an afternoon. I set it up in an afternoon, integrated it with Stripe. It was easy. It was all effortless. It was quite intuitive. There were two little bits that were more difficult, but I'd actually just ticked something wrong, so that fixed one of them. And there's just one more thing to find out, which is how to put a menu on the top. So because it sits within your WordPress, you see. So you've got your WordPress navigation at the top, and I really want a secondary menu, which is the stuff within the membership area. But I've, in the meantime, I've got a workaround, which is just links on the page. And but yeah, I was really impressed with it. And then you can upgrade to. And the thing about using membership site software, it means that you can deliver products within it as well. So it gets people used to coming into your members area to pick up their products they've bought from you. And then that makes it an easier sale for people to join in, and join your community. So, yeah, so I was really impressed with it. It's if anyone's listening and they're looking for an out-of-the-box membership site software that's recurring billing but very cheap, and you can upgrade to get things like analytics and stuff as you need them, so yeah, highly recommended.
MemberMouse,
good customer service as well, apparently, according to Sarah, and that's always plus
MemberMouse.
Yeah, membermouse.com. Very good. That's us done.
It is.
Yes, I'm off to the doctor with a little list of minor things, and you're going to continue on the flat move.
I am, yes, and I'll meet you back here next week. In fact, I might speak to you this afternoon about sales letters if I get stuck.
Okay, cool. I'll be here. Bye.
All right then. See you. Bye.
It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.